for running back rankings, yes, they are here. A position that is, I think, thriving in fantasy football right now, especially compared to a lot of the early picks and even middle picks at wide receiver. Not too many injuries, but ones have been significant, and they're going to change depth charts and change these rankings because we have new ones at the top. But Hayden, we do have to start with the man, the myth, the legend, who is averaging about 26 touches per game. That is Christian McCaffrey against the Jacksonville Jaguars. He's staying healthy, but it's the cost and the livelihood of every other 49er at this time.
Yeah, no Ricky Pearsall, no Juwan Jennings, obviously no George Kittle still. This is
but just at practice.
On Wednesday.
Hopefully those guys play on Sunday.
Hopefully. Doesn't matter. Christian McCaffrey is on pace for 141 receptions. For reference, the most by a running back ever is 116, set by Christian McCaffrey himself. I was scrolling through the Underdog Pick'em lobby late night, as one does, and I come across the season-long projection for Christian McCaffrey. 1999.5 total yards. That's what it is right now. So we'll see. I think that the Jaguars defense looks a little bit better, but I don't care. He gets 10 targets a game. He's a wide receiver one and a running back one.
Exactly.
So hopefully he stays healthy.
His 25 receptions are third in the league among all positions.
Yep.
I will add, though, there are no explosives to his game right now. It's kind of all volume in a way, which is totally fine because he's going to get that volume. And the other point is the underlying metrics point to this Jaguars defense being really good under a new defensive coordinator. We know they've invested a ton of pieces into it, both draft picks and in free agency. Josh Hines-Allen is playing at a really high level, and they just have a bunch of, dudes along the defensive line. But at the same time, CMC should be ranked in the top 3 when healthy. And he is the lone one that is healthy right now. James Cook is your running back 3. So we start off with Jonathan Taylor as your running back 2. This is at the LA Rams. One fun stat for you. He's been the overall running back 1 scorer in 4 of the last 6 weeks when dating back to last season.
Well, that makes my second overall ranking look pretty dumb, doesn't it? It's too hard to fail when you're playing 90% of the snaps. And this is a really, really difficult matchup. But like I said, when you're that good at football and you're playing all the snaps and the environment around you is very good all of a sudden, he's too big to fail. He's going to be the first running back that scored over 9 half PPR points against the Rams, which is really impressive. Obviously a great defensive line, but it doesn't matter. Jonathan Taylor, it's explosives, it's pass game work, it's goal line work, it's the whole package.
Yeah, the Rams just held Saquon Barkley to 46 yards on 18 attempts, but maybe the Rams offense is nothing in comparison to this Colts offense at this point.
You joke, but here we are.
And the Eagles offense as well. Okay. James Cook is your running back 3, as I previously mentioned. This is against the New Orleans Saints. He's actually running back 5 in consensus ranking, so you're a few spots higher here.
Yeah, so on the season, he's the RB2 on RB7 usage. He's always going to be breaking models because good player in a good offense. But his expected volume from last year to this year is actually up 3.6 expected points on top of that. And this week, they are 16.5 point favorites, which might be the most of the season. We'll see. There can be some wonky injuries towards the back half of the year. But 16.5, this is a college football point spread. They're projected for 32.5 points. They are complete outliers when I put up my play volume and my projected points charts out there. And he's getting all of it. And even if it's a close game, he's been ripping off 40-yard touchdowns at the same rate as Saquon Barkley. So, man, this one, it's a absolute smash spot at home as 16.5 point favorites.
I did look up where that spread factors in over the last 20 years, hoping it was really high. It's not even close. Since the year 2000, it's not even in the top 25 in terms of point spread. So I wasn't able to bring that up.
Well, sometimes in December, backup quarterbacks are in there and it gets really wonky, but in September, that's got to be one of the higher ones.
You mentioned with James Cook that things slightly have changed. What hasn't is that he still owns this running back room inside the 10-yard line. But gone are the days of we're only getting 13 to 15 touches, as you just pointed out. And he's had 18, 22, and 22 touches over the last 3 games. That is, it's pretty amazing. In fact, Reeves pointed out in his worksheet that already equals the number of games last season that he had 15 touches or more. And he's already done that in the opening 3 of this year. That's truly amazing. And to me, makes him a obvious top 5 running back the rest of the season.
Right now, he's at 89.5 total yards in the pick 'em lobby. I like the higher on that one. Extended rest for this game. And pay attention to see if Chase Young plays. That's the Saints' number one edge rusher, has been on the injury report throughout the season. They're 6th worst against fantasy running backs. Like, everything about this is complete eruption spot.
Okay, I just had to quickly Google the largest spreads of the last 20 years. Number one was 26.5, Hayden. That was just in 2013. That was the Jacksonville Jaguars on the road against the Denver Broncos. And that game was 35-19. So they covered.
Okay. Interesting.
They covered. Josh Jacobs is your running back 4. This is at the Dallas Cowboys. They got back on paper Zach Tom and Aaron Banks, but Zach Tom, I think, played 1 snap. Aaron Banks made it to about halftime, and then they both exited. So those are 2 injuries that we will definitely keep track of moving forward.
Yeah, never a good look when you last 1 snap. I'm sure the medical team over there was sweating bullets on that one. But even with the offensive line injuries, and Josh Jacobs' efficiency isn't quite as good as where it was last year. I was looking at the next gen stat stuff, and he's not quite as good there. But backup offensive lineman so far. This is just an easier matchup, and the Packers are projected for the 2nd most points at 27.25. Compare that to James Cook, by the way, at 32.5. 2nd most is in the 27 range. So obviously love Josh Jacobs. He had that huge touchdown streak for a reason. I think that he's a positive regression candidate, and the Dallas Cowboys, it's NFC Player of the Week automatically. So whether that's Josh Jacobs or Jordan Love, we'll find out.
Jacobs was limited on Wednesday with an ankle injury. I'm not too worried about that. And yeah, you go from facing the Browns defense to the Cowboys defense. This should be fantastic.
They're linebackers and safety play in Dallas right now. And not even mention the cornerback play without Deron Bland too.
Bijan Robinson is your running back 5. This is against the Washington Commanders. The Falcons offense sucked last week, didn't score a single point. Yet if you watch the game, Bijan Robinson was still freaking awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just wanted to note the Commanders are the 3rd best defense against fantasy running backs so far. Bijan Robinson, whether the quarterback plays okay or bad, it doesn't largely matter. He's the RB4 and RB6 usage, so I'm not completely ignoring last week, but that was like as bad as it gets, and typically it's not that bad.
Right now in the pick'em lobby, you can see that Bijan Robinson is at 78.5 rushing yards in terms of his higher and lower. Obviously, he's a huge part of the passing game and has lowered Michael Penix's ADOT on top of it. If you want to support us, the best way of doing that is to go on over and support Underdog. I believe we're in 41 out of 50 states at this point. And if you play $5 for the first time, you get $50 on top of a pick'em special and everything else when you use promo code the show. So go support the Dog app and use it on your phone.
And one other thing, we have drafts too. So if you want like quick rapid fire drafts, we have it for a bunch of different slates, but the prizes keep getting bigger over there. So 6 rounds, 6 players in it. It's a lot of fun. You can quickly draft these guys that we're talking about.
Jahmyr Gibbs is your running back 6. This is against the aforementioned Cleveland Browns. Occasionally I'll mention our editorial meetings that we have every single day with, let's say, the higher figures at Underdog, right? And so it gives me a good sense of like the pulse of a normal person that watches football versus us sickos that do this over and over and over again. One person, who was to not be named, said that he and others in his league are very nervous about Jahmyr Gibbs because of David Montgomery's 2 touchdowns this past week. To me, that is ridiculous on a few levels, if I'm allowed to use that word, because Jahmyr Gibbs just played a season high 64% of the offensive snaps. And Hayden, as we always talk about in stats versus film, this team is number 1 in running back usage, has been and was last season. They're getting back into that mode this year. And so 2 running backs that rank, still splitting snaps, but rank in number 1 in terms of usage can still be better than primary runners on teams that rank much, much, much lower on the list.
You got to tell this unnamed person, potentially a boss, that Jahmyr Gibbs is running back 3 overall in expected fantasy points. So go argue.
And he handled 27 touches in that game.
Now, if you want to nitpick something about Jahmyr Gibbs right now, he's facing Myles Garrett, and the Browns are averaging 2.2 yards per carry.
But this was a previous week, not the future.
Okay.
This was previous.
Right. Myles Garrett's a problem. I'm going to come out and say it. That defensive line is kicking ass. It's a well-coached defense as well. And the Lions are so good on offense that even with Myles Garrett, you name it, on the Cleveland Browns, they're still projected for the third most points as a team and 93.5 total yards in the pick 'em lobby. So like typically I'll have Jahmyr Gibbs as the third running back on the week. I move him down a couple spots to tip my hat to Myles Garrett. But that's as far as I can go down.
Yeah, you should not be nervous about Jahmyr Gibbs's season-long aspects based on what happened in week 3 when Jahmyr Gibbs, by the way, was the running back 3 in overall scoring, slightly behind his running mate in Dave Montgomery. But at the same time, you should maybe worry about it in week 4 when he faces Cleveland Browns defensive line, who are allowing just negative 0.12 yards before contact when the league average is at 1.18.
Yeah. Hopefully the boss doesn't listen to this one.
Saquon Barkley is next. This is at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It feels like every single season the Eagles play the Buccaneers, and it's always a crazy matchup.
And they lose. They lose by 30. Yeah, obviously the Saquon Barkley stuff has not been exactly perfect. He's the RB14 on RB4 usage. So the usage is down. The efficiency is way down. Obviously with Saquon Barkley, this can just be a 60-yard touchdown. We'll get those efficiency numbers right back. Did want to note Buccaneers still very good against the run. They're third best in yards per carry allowed to running backs at only 3.0. That said, they did put Kalijah Kancey, a defensive tackle, on injured reserve. So I think a lot of this is like, it's just summed up by small sample size, some difficult matchups, and then their left guard, right tackle dealing with some injuries. But I think that this one will get squared away in no time. But this is another one where like I'm moving down a couple spots because the matchup is not ideal. But like all of these guys, like Jacobs, Saquon, like they're all projected for nearly 100 total yards in the pick 'em lobby. They can easily score 2 touchdowns and 80 points. So the exact rankings on these don't really matter.
So we talked about this last week with Saquon because he had 4 runs of 60 plus yards or whatever against the Rams. He did have a run of 59 yards against the Bucs last year. We need one of those to happen at some point. His longest run right now is of 16 yards. And then he's also just being stuffed behind the line of scrimmage more often this year too, almost at like an 8% rate. So 8% difference, I should say, versus last year. So we'll see. I mean, this is, again, a fascinating one in Todd Wilson's on the road in Tampa Bay and all these types of things. So always a really fun matchup when those two teams play. Yeah. To round up the top 8, that is Achane against the New York Jets. A pseudo Christian McCaffrey-like usage here for Achane so far to open the season.
On pace for 102 receptions. It's hard to go wrong with that. So he's the RB7 this year in half PPR and full PPR. I'm guessing that he's even higher than that. We did see Ollie Gordon sneak in there at the goal line in the first quarter, like not garbage time. And I do think that there is a little bit of a threat with that, but I do think that Achane's still going to get some goal line work. And a lot of his value is obviously just catching like swing passes, screens, and then obviously having the home run threat ability. So hate the offensive line, but that was a problem last year as well. And he was still a total beast out there with Tua healthy. Right now, the Jets have allowed at least 29 points in all 3 of their games. They just placed linebacker Quincy Williams on injured reserve with a shoulder injury. So I don't think either of these teams are very good. And I think the Jets defense is like really regressed from like 2-3 years ago when they were top 5 in a lot of metrics. Like last year, they didn't play well. And this year it's been suspect too.
Your running back 9 is actually, I think, surprisingly running back 12 in consensus rankings. This is Omarion Hampton. This is on the road against the Giants. When Najee Harris left this game, Hampton then went on to play 91% of snaps and then handled all 25 of the backfield touches. I mean, get him in a straight line and let him rumble.
Yep. And on top of that, Chargers project for the 7th most points of the week, over 25. The Giants have allowed the 3rd most rushing EPA, and that's 5.2 yards per carry to running backs, the 4th most fantasy points to running backs. And here's the running backs that have accrued all those points, like Ja'Cory Croskey-Merritt, Javonte Williams, Kareem Hunt. So it's not like I listed like anybody that we've talked about so far. Dexter Lawrence, I've seen him on the sideline a lot, kind of like holding, I think it's like an elbow shoulder injury, and he hasn't been out there and like being the all-pro version of Dexter Lawrence. Linebacker plays so. Yeah, I think Omarion Hampton's like not going to come off the field very much, and because they don't have anybody else. And he had 19 expected half PPR points last week, even though Najee Harris played nearly the first half.
Omarion does, fail to gain yardage at like the 36th out of 38 running backs with 20 plus or more attempts. At the same time, this Giants team has allowed 5.2 yards per carry, which is 27th across the league. So maybe this is the week we get like a really long Omarion Hampton run, because I do feel like one is inevitable with his speed. Speaking of long runs, Derrick Henry is your running back 10. This is at the Kansas City Chiefs. Last season when these two teams played, D. Henry had 13 carries for 46 yards and a touchdown. What we really need to happen here is this to be a positive game script for the Baltimore Ravens, which is nice because the Ravens are actually, I believe, favored by 2.5 points in this game.
Yeah, Chiefs run defense for a long time has been very good. I don't think they're going to be quite as good this year as they have been in the past. I can't explain what's happened to Derrick Henry in terms of yards and touchdowns. He's awesome. And then like the age cliff came for his hands, I guess.
I did see, I can't remember who made this joke. Said sometimes grip strength is the first thing to go once you get older. I thought that was decent.
That's insane. But yes. I mean, he's a hard one to rank because he has more duds than all of the running back ones, like on the season. Like he has like 4 games where it's like, oh, he had less than 5 fantasy points, but then the other ones he has like 25. So this isn't like an easy matchup by any means, but like where else am I supposed to rank the big dog? He's got to figure it out.
Oh, I'm with you. I mean, this is where you need to put him. Even last week, 28-yard touchdown or whatever it was, made it look easy. Kyren Williams is your running back 11. This is against the Indianapolis Colts. I think this is going to be tested for like the tight game theory for Kyren. Yeah. And if that's the case, he's going to stand very close to Sean McVay at all times, unless he's on the field for 95% of it.
Yeah. Whether it's 95 or even 70%, it doesn't really matter all that much as long as the Rams keep playing the way they have been. And right now, Vegas has the Rams projected for the 4th most points on the week at 26.5. The Colts defense is well coached. They could, their coach kind of has some interesting like weekly wrinkles to the defense, which spooks inexperienced coaches and play callers. That's not the Rams here. They'll be ready for this one. The one thing I do want to keep in mind, Kevin Dotson and Steve Avila, they're like huge. Like remember those days where everyone was talking about how their interior offensive linemen are 1,000 pounds. Well, 2 of those guys are banged up right now. So we'll have more information on those guys' statuses coming up.
I will add that this Colts defense, because they've been leading so much, have not faced a ton of running back carries, only like 15 to 16 per game at this point, the second fewest in the league. But they are allowing a high yards per carry when they do face those runs. So again, if the game is closer, I think these running backs could have more success than previous running backs against the Colts.
Yep.
Jordan Mason is your running back 12. This is at the Pittsburgh Steelers, a defense that does not know that the season has started, but I will add that they did get Derek Harmon back last week. And so we'll see if that adds a boost moving forward.
Yeah, I just think he's going to be a bell cow. We did see my boy Xavier Scott mix in there, and he made a couple plays, but this is largely Jordan Mason as the featured back. Minnesota's 26th in neutral pass rate, so the offense is more built around the running back than it has been in the past. I believe we'll probably get the center back this week. He was out last week. And then Christian Darrisaw, their left tackle, came in there this past week. So all of a sudden, like the offensive line that they invested so much in should look a little bit better pending the status of their left guard too. So stiffer test, but I think that it's like almost like getting to the point where it's too big to fail. And I also mentioned, I think Jordan Mason is just like too good to fail. Like he's one of the best like early down
ball
rushers
carriers
in the game. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And he opened this last season the same way on the 49ers. I know the quarterback stuff hasn't really worked out for the Vikings so far, but the running game identity change from the offseason has. Like 41% of their rushing plays have gained 5 or more yards so far this season, which is the 8th best mark in the league. And that's definitely not something you could have pointed to last year. Fellas, we know this Saturday is the last time ahead of every single one of your Sundays, Mondays, Thursdays are accounted for. So go and do something special for your significant other before every other weekend is accounted for. This is your last opportunity to do it. And if you're fully out of ideas, I'll direct you to the SeatGeek app because it tells you tons of events in your area. For me, I can look at this and see Breaking Benjamin concert in my area. Man, that song and the Halo 2 soundtrack, I think it was like Blow Me Away. Magnificent stuff. Or Chevelle. Look, maybe we got some real heavy metal couples out there. Chevelle the Red was an anthem in varsity football for me in the locker room. And of course, I have a code for you guys. You can use code FANTASY10 for 10% off your next set of tickets at SeatGeek. That is 10% off any tickets, whether you're a new customer or old, with promo code Fantasy 10. Make sure you click the link in the description to download the app and have the code automatically added to your account so you can use it later. Thank you, SeatGeek. Okay, this is where you have Ashton Jeanty as running back 13, which is much higher than I believe his running back 33 standing through 3 weeks. This is against the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, I'm out on a ledge, I guess, for Ashton Jeanty. I will say this is the best it has looked on paper in a little bit here. The Raiders project for the 11th most points. The Bears are 5th worst against fantasy running backs. They're allowing 5.3 yards per carry. They've allowed 5 different running backs remember, it's been 3 weeks to score at least 8 half PPR points. That's tough to do. So I don't love that Ashton Jeanty's not playing late down in distances. And if they are going to be losing by a lot like they did last week, then he is going to get phased out. This is just a week where hopefully this thing gets a little bit closer. And he'll have some operating room. He's not going to finish with negative yards before contact this season. It will be low, but it will not be in the negatives. I can promise you that. And Ashton
he has been hit behind the line of scrimmage on 32 of his 47 runs so far.
No, it has not looked good. And I went back and watched the Geno Smith dropbacks since stats versus film, and the pass game. He was getting hit so often. Like, how many of the sacks were even his fault? Maybe one of like the 5. The other ones is just like guys getting straight up beat, miscommunications. Dylan Lowby out there, like, he's to blame for some of these sacks and stuff. So like, yeah, it's not going to get fixed entirely. It's also not going to be as bad as it's been in 3 weeks. So how about a middle ground of RB13?
When we posted, and I posted the Ashton Jeanty runs, someone was like, they need to fire their offensive line coach. And then I just wanted to note that their offensive line coach is Pete Carroll's son, Brennan. So that's not going to happen.
Yeah, fire your son.
Again, your point is the most important one, that this, and I haven't looked at the schedule, but just anecdotally, might be one of the few games that the Raiders are favored in. They're favored by 1.5 points. So please, please stay in a positive game script here. And you need to focus and not place a bet while you're hearing that they're favored by 1.5 here.
Yeah. Caleb's looking good. Geno's also looking good. That was a decent Geno game.
Bucky Irving is your running back 14. This is against the Philadelphia Eagles. He has gone from 5.4 yards per carry last season to 3.1 yards per carry this year. A run of 10 or more yards on 5.4% of his carries this year after 13% last year. That's all according to Rich Rebar and the worksheet. However, the big difference is that he has 18, 23, and 29 touches so far this year and at least 4 receptions in every single game.
Yeah, I think the receptions is something to definitely note here because Mike Evans is not going to play. Chris Godwin, like, he might play, but like, he's barely even practiced, and he might not play either. So at some point, like, they're going to have to throw Bucky Irving the ball here. He also just needs it because the offensive line, like you mentioned, it's just really bad right now. So maybe they get Tristan Wirfs back, like we've seen with other like star tackles coming back. They like kind of like give him like half the game. And sometimes they're not fully themselves too. So he's been the RB16 on RB9 usage this year. So it's not like full panic, but like in the offseason, like once we learned Tristan Wirfs was not going to be out there, and then obviously after losing your right guard and right tackle on top of that, a dip in efficiency was extremely predictable. And that's what we've seen from Bucky Irving so far.
Okay, now some major differences you have with the consensus rankings. The first one is J.K. Dobbins. This is against the Cincinnati Bengals. He's running back 22 in consensus rankings, but you're running back 15.
Yeah, love J.K. Dobbins right now. I think that he's looked the part. He's handled all the goal line opportunities, and the Broncos, as bad as they've been on offense, they are 5th in projected points this week. The Bengals just getting absolutely smoked by fantasy running backs. Second worst against, they played the Browns, the Jaguars, and then the Vikings with Carson Wentz, and they're still getting absolutely lit up by running backs. They didn't have Shamar Stewart last week, their first-round edge rusher, and the Broncos' offensive line, like we've mentioned, Bo Nix has been playing so bad, despite the Broncos #1 in some offensive line metrics too. So I can't pretend that I'm worried about RJ Harvey for week 4 right now. And he's not a full bell cow, but pretty close to it. And this is a great matchup.
Hey, maybe this is a game, again, they're favored by 7.5, that both running backs get home. Like, it's a Monday Night Football game, and Sean Payton might just drive up the scoreboard based on how his offense has played all season long. So that's something I could see here. The next one is Alvin Kamara as your running back 16. He's running back 24 in consensus rankings. there are some, I think, just overarching concerns here because one, Alvin Kamara, they haven't been great at run blocking. And most importantly, like he is not getting used in the receiving game. And that has been such a major part of his profile. But then, you know, the Buffalo Bills, if somehow the Saints can stay in a neutral game script in this one, the Bills have been terrible at stopping the run so far.
Yeah, 5.6 yards per carry allowed is the second worst. They have not had Ed Oliver out there with an ankle injury. I can't look at the Alvin Kamara ranking as 16.5-point dogs and not envision 7 receptions. Like, well, I know it's gone back and forth. We've had one PPR scam out of 3, you know? So maybe it just doesn't happen. And if they lose by 17 and he ends up with 3 receptions, then it's like, okay, it's just not going to happen this year. But the easiest thing I can say would be they're going to lose by a lot and he's going to catch 5 or 6 passes and save the day. He also needs to do that because they're projected for 16 points on the road. But I don't know. The easy answer would be he catches a bunch of passes.
Right. So far this year, he's caught 9 passes for 47 yards. That was like a half one time last year.
Yeah. It might be a half this week.
Okay. Here's our guy. Well, I'll just claim him. Okay. K9, Ken Walker III is your running back 17. Again, this is Thursday Night Football. It's on the road against the Arizona Cardinals. We know that he handled all the work this past week until they got to the fourth quarter and they sat everyone. It does sound like Zach Charbonnet is going to be back in this backfield. So, you know, more reactions from both sides where there are good people on this one.
Yeah. Who knows what's going to happen here? I'm anticipating Kenneth Walker. Maybe this is more hopeful that it's not going to be the drive-by-drive rotation that we've seen previously because Kenneth Walker has earned more and then Charbonnet's banged up. And if that is the case, this is kind of where I would be slotting Kenneth Walker. So if that doesn't happen, that will be pretty depressing. But I think that Clint Kubiak's offense has looked pretty good. I think Sam Darnold's looked very good. The Cardinals' secondary is getting a lot of headlines because of all their injuries. LJ Collier, Justin Jones, also on injured reserve defensive tackles right now too. So yeah, this is hopefully we get like a little bit of reporting heading into this one, like how healthy Charbonnet is and like exactly what the rotation is going to be. But he's just been too good the last couple of weeks. Where Charbonnet has been either injured or lackluster.
Trey Benson is next for you. This is one of the big changes based on the James Conner injury. This is in that same game against the Seattle Seahawks. Right now, Cardinals running backs just overall have about a 33% success rate. That's 26th in the NFL. And actually, Trey Benson's a big part of that. Just 71% of his runs have gained yardage. That's 31st in the league. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, he's produced a run of 10 or more yards on 14% of his runs, which is 8th in the league. So you're kind of getting that boom bust profile that our eyes tell us that he is too.
Yeah, that's just how he plays. Paris Johnson, their left tackle, good player. He's got a knee injury. If he doesn't play, that's a humongous drop off to their backup. And you just can't have that against this matchup. The Seahawks defensive line and linebacker play is awesome. They also have like some crazy secondary guys that actually go and rally and tackle. So I don't love the matchup. In fact, I actually really hate the matchup on a short week for Trey Benson here. I did flip him one spot ahead of Kenneth Walker just because like Trey Benson played he played 85% of the snaps. And like at some point you're just like kind of too big to fail.
Do we know if Paris Johnson's playing since he sat out last week?
Yeah, don't know about that. I think that he was limited or DNP on the Monday. So if he's not out there, it's a problema. You can just tell by the backup how he looks. Like just his body type is just like, that's not good.
This Seahawks defense is just freaking flying around the field. Byron Murphy is playing like the, first round pick that he is. That is for sure. And I think they're the only team or one of 3 teams that have not allowed a rushing touchdown to a running back yet.
Yep. And then 3.2 yards per carry too. That's
I'm looking at the injury report and I actually don't see Paris Johnson on here at all. He was limited on Monday and then limited on Tuesday as well.
Okay.
That's all that we have at this point. Okay. Javonte Williams is this makes him your running back 19. Talk to me. This is against the Green Bay Packers.
Basically the same discussion as Trey Benson, except that Javonte's been like a success rate guy. The offensive line injuries have me spooked. Cooper Beebe, their center's on injured reserve. Tyler Booker, their first round right guard, he's on injured reserve. And then CeeDee Lamb's also not going to play. So like this is a cluster injury scenario. And I've got like plenty of faith in Dak Prescott. I think that actually the play calling's been pretty good, especially like on the ground too. And Javonte's like looked solid. So maybe they can keep this one afloat. But we're really putting a lot of faith in that continuing against, the revenge gamed Micah Parsons and the Packers. So how low could you rank somebody that has been an RB1 on RB1 usage that doesn't come off the field? I think like RB 18, 19 is probably my best answer for that one, but don't love this spot.
Nope. 2 backup offensive linemen going up against a sick defense. Don't love it.
Yep.
Don't love it at all. Travis Etienne sits here as your running back 20 at the San Francisco 49ers. Liam Cohen even went on the mic today and said, "Oh yeah, our running game is exactly what we want it to be. Our passing game has not been there." However, the San Francisco 49ers defense, even without Nick Bosa, has, really turned it up in terms of like late defensive line movement and shutting down other opposing teams' rushing games. So this is a really fun matchup to watch.
It is, yeah. No, Nick Bosa does matter, but their defensive tackle and edge rusher rookies in the draft have been playing well. Then you have Fred Warner, and then just Robert Saleh knows what the hell he's doing. So I would say it's still not an easy matchup for Travis Etienne. The team total for Jacksonville, because of opponents, has been higher than what it is this week. Last week was a season low for expected points for Etienne at 10.6, which is still totally fine. He's the RB 17 in usage so far, 68.5 total yards in the underdog pick 'em lobby. It's remaining a 1-2 punch with a little bit of LaQuint Allen, who's we nailed his prospect profile, by the way. Like he is a very relevant Samaj AP Ryan ass third
role
down
player
guy. Yeah.
Yep.
Love it.
Okay. David Montgomery, the opposite end of that lovely discussion earlier here against the Cleveland Browns. He's running back 21 for you. He's actually running back 29 in consensus rankings. Again, on just 12 carries last week, he performed as the running back 2 overall.
I don't get that consensus ranking because this year he's the RB 8 on RB 25 usage. They just rank him lower than that, and the team total is up. And I get it's not a fun matchup, but they're projected for 27 damn points. So like, I don't know. He's never been an RB 29 in years. So I don't know why like now all of a sudden he would be.
Yeah. And again, I feel like maybe by week 8, I will not bring this up, but week 1, this team against the Packers was projected for 22 points. And then now they're already at 27.5 points. And like the rankings and the production has adjusted since, no one getting there on that 22 point projection in week 1.
And one of the mystery box things that we had to solve was the interior offensive lineman, and Tate Ratledge, the guard, who I freaking loved in the draft, has just looked awesome and is a face melter out there.
Next, Chuba Hubbard. This is running back 22 at the New England Patriots. He's handled over 60% of the touches in all 3 games. Very few, if any, explosive runs so far this season. And then his 2 touchdowns have both been in the receiving game.
Yeah, a lot more pass heavy in neutral situations. They're top 5, Carolina is, and previously they'd be bottom 10. I think partially that's because they have Teterow and McMillan to throw the ball to. Partially, Robert Hunt and Austin Corbett, their center and guard, remain out. Just wanted to quickly note, the Patriots, you might think, it's just the freaking Patriots. They've allowed 2.6 yards per carry to running backs this season. They've really beefed that up. Milton Williams, obviously linebackers, and then Vrabel, just like collectively, they do not want to get ran on, and you won't run on them. And I just struggle to rank Chuba Hubbard because they're still really low in projected points as a team at 19. But he's been better than this historically, and the situations have not been good. He always just overperforms those expectations. But this is like a combination of like his environment's worse, and the Patriots against running backs have been very good.
Okay, this is where you have Quinshon Judkins as running back 23. Are the Browns dealing with backups at both tackle spots now? Because I know DeJuan Jones went on injured reserve, and then is Jack Conklin also out?
I forget if Conklin's out or not, but he has not been the same because of various injuries previously. Yeah, it's either way. This is a hard ranking as well because the Browns are 3rd fewest in projected points under 18. The Lions 2nd best against rushing in rushing EPA allowed, and that's against some like really good players too, like matchup wise. So he's very good at football. Like you watch 2 games from a running back, you can already see like, okay, this guy's got juice and stuff, like absolutely juice, vision, burst, contact balance, and
see it.
15 and a half expected points this last week. So like,
oh, I thought you meant the Browns total for this week was 15
no.
and a half points.
Well, that'll actually be a fair thing to go. Who's going to score more points, Judkins in fantasy or the team? Like it'll be close.
Yeah, this is on the road against the Lions, who, play football to the degree that we would like them to. Yeah, they are projected for 17 and a half points right now. The Browns are.
Obviously, he's not Nick Chubb, but Nick Chubb would like be like the RB like 12 when the Browns were terrible. So if he's like super, super good, there is some room to go up, even if the Browns remain good. Now it's hard to be Nick damn Chubb. That's for sure.
Jack Conklin was a limited participant on Wednesday with an elbow, and then Bitonio just rested on Wednesday as well. So hopefully both those guys play. Breece Hall, you're running back 24. I don't want to say it, but I'll say it. Like he might be the one after week 1 that we were like, oh man, what a steal in drafts. This rushing scheme is going to be awesome. After, running for 107 yards on 19 carries. And then ever since on his 19 carries, he has 50 yards over the last 2 games.
I feel you. It is in the back of my mind. I will not agree with you on that until I watch them play the Miami Dolphins, because the Miami Dolphins defense has just been so mediocre. So yeah, if he doesn't pull through on this one, then it's going to be a little bit harder. He's the RB 26 and RB 20 usage. I'm middling that right now. I do think the Elijah Vera Tucker stuff has impacted everything. But man, Miami Dolphins front 7 has just like not been very good.
Jaylen Warren is your running back 25. I think previously I said this was in Pittsburgh. It's obviously not. It's in Dublin, 9:30 Eastern on Sunday morning for all of you. Yeah, I mean, Jaylen Warren, we talked about this in Stats versus Film. He already has 8 touches inside of the 10-yard line, which is very different than has previously happened over the previous, I think, 2 years in the NFL, or it's his first 2 years in the NFL. Warren only had 9 touches and 5 touches inside the 10-yard line. So like Arthur Smith, there's no one else to trust in this backfield.
Yeah.
And he is trusting Jaylen Warren, and maybe it turns into something other than a ridiculous 42-yard reception that he had a couple weeks ago.
RB 25 is way lower than Jaylen Warren's usage, which is 8th, and then his production so far, which is 17th. Because I've seen him play so well, I was shocked to see that he's only averaging 3.1 yards per carry right now. Obviously, like the one splash play was actually a scramble drill. It wasn't even like a design target. That was just like scramble drill. Still awesome. But are you just getting bad vibes on this one? Across, outside the country, and you're facing the freaking chaos Vikings and your quarterback can't move?
Well,
like,
this is a huge thing that we've seen with Aaron Rodgers before. Like last season, he could not function against a Brian Flores defense. Correct. They loaded the gaps, sent an extra person. Literally one of the worst quarterback performances I've seen of just darting passes, taking pressures, getting rid of it before wide receivers turn their head. And if they force them into a pure passing situation, it could get nasty.
Yeah, and it's harder to get the running backs involved just because of the chaos up front. Maybe Rodgers. Yeah, maybe Rodgers is taking all that time in the offseason because he was like, oh, I have to play Flores at some point. Like, do I want to retire or do I want to battle this one out?
DeAndre Swift is your running back 26. This is at the Las Vegas Raiders. We know this Raiders defense just kind of got torched by the Washington Commanders backfield, including that long Jerry McNichols run, a touchdown run by Bill on top of it. DeAndre Swift, I think, is also dealing with like an oblique or shoulder injury on top of another injury. It's probably from carrying this running back room so far.
Right. They have been getting interesting and putting DJ Moore at running back, some like Luther Burden stuff. So they're begging somebody to step up at running back here. All that said, it's the same discussion we've had for 4 straight weeks. The Bears project for the 10th most points. He's still like easily the RB1. The Raiders have looked terrible on defense. It's just Max Crosby. They've lost like half their starters from the offseason, and they're kind of just like hodgepodging this whole thing together. It's not my favorite situation. So got to get back for the injury report to kind of see where this one's going. But until somebody else steps up, like he's a must start. Like all these guys are way better than the running or the wide receiver that you're thinking about your flex spots. So like even down here, I feel very good about all these guys for fantasy purposes.
Cam Skattebo, the biggest boy in the backfield,
That's right.
is running back 27, making his highest debut on this list. I'm sure he'd be higher if he wasn't facing off against the LA Chargers.
And he is higher. Put him ahead of freaking DeAndre Swift. How about that?
Okay. One spot.
One spot for vibes. Yeah, Khalil Mack's not going to play, and Andrew Thomas is. So, like, whatever trenches mismatch you can think about, it's getting a little bit closer to the center here. And I think that Jackson Dart's going to be good for the offense because they're just going to run more plays in general. You're also going to have more rushing lanes when you get that zone read, and you have to kind of that edge rusher is a little bit harder to collapse down. So I like that. I thought Skattebo just played really well. I thought his vision, and he's got plenty of bursts. Like, you need enough bursts to get to the first down marker. And I think he has that. So
he has a high percentage of carries of 10 plus yards already. And like, that's what he did in college on top of it. Just don't look at the 30 yard, stuff.
Yeah. And who cares? I'll just eat up my 10 yards at a time. 14.5 expected half PPR points last week. And he only became the guy after the Tyrone Tracy stuff. So that was like 2.5 quarters where like he was the foundation back. So I really like this spot for Cam Skattebo. Maybe not the matchup, just like, this is going to be a good time for Cam.
Yeah, and this Chargers defense struggled to stop J.K. Dobbins last week. They did shut down the Chiefs and the Raiders running attacks, but everyone has shut down the Chiefs and the Raiders rushing attacks so far. So again, I think this is a good test for them on top of it too. Tony Pollard is your running back 28. Rarely do we look at backfield singular in a player who gets 95% of his team's touches and rank him all the way down as running back 28, but that is the case here for Tony Pollard.
Yeah. The team total's at 15.5.
Oh my gosh.
That's pretty low. That's pretty low. It's also the Texans, and JC Latham hasn't played. So you're getting a backup right tackle, and then the left tackle they spent a lot of money on.
I think it's my guy, Oli Udoh from Elon, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, exactly. You go to Elon, you're trying to defend.
Whoa. He's probably better than any tackle that USC has put out recently. Have any tackles from USC made the league since like Matt Khalil?
Austin Jackson. Come on.
Okay.
Elijah Vera Tucker. How about that?
That's guard.
Yeah, but he played some tackle. Anyways, he's playing 90% of the snaps, but I mean, this matchup is just freaking brutal. And the last time they played in week 18, scoreless 2.8 yards per carry, which is like kind of been Tony Pollard's season so far. So he's been the RB25 and RB19 usage. So I'm like close to where that's been. And then like, I'll just take it down another tier because Latham's out against these two absolute sickos.
We know Tony Pollard can catch passes. Obviously that's Tajay Spears' calling card, but Cam Ward has the lowest target rate to running back so far through the first 3 weeks of the season. Okay. One running back is going to do it against the Carolina Panthers defense. I am hoping that TreVeyon Henderson can outperform this running back 29 status, but I understand why he is running back 29. I will add that you asked for, Mike Reese to send out the signals of who could be the lead runner on this team. Yes, Mike Reese came through for us. Practice film footage of running back drills. TreVeyon Henderson first, Antonio Gibson second, Rhamondre Stevenson third. We know that that's how it finished out in the fourth quarter. He had 14 snaps compared to 3 for Rhamondre and 2 for Antonio Gibson. The big question is if that carries over from one game to another.
Yeah, I'm guessing it will. I'm guessing it's still going to be a rotation. But this is way too low if TreVeyon Henderson does get 50% of the snaps because the Patriots are top 10 in projected points. The Panthers, once again, first in yards per carry allowed. They obviously gave up a ton to Travis Etienne. They don't have a defensive tackle and linebacker in the lineup. So I don't have 100% confidence, but I do think that he is one of these guys where, like, yes, this ranking was just too low. He's graduated from this. So, put him in front of DeAndre Swift too.
Oh, I love it. TreVeyon Henderson, the pick 'em lobby right now, 37.5 rushing yards.
Yeah, I wanted to float this by you. I was looking at next gen stats, rushing stuff. He's dead last in the percentage of runs that have gone over his expectation at 17%. So small sample size. Just wanted to note that as we kind of continue forward with this rookie.
And I mean, if you really want to play this, if you think that owning all those snaps carries over into this game, he has 7.5 rushing yards in the first quarter in the pick and lobby.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
7.5 rushing yards in the first quarter. So I know I'll be playing that 37.5. And you can play along with me. By the way, Sunday, witching hour, when you hear Scott Hansen say it, 3:00 Eastern, open up your phone, open on the Underdog app, and you'll get all these discounts and promos and tokens thrown in your face. So witching hour, bing, bang, boom, Underdog, and go play on the Dog app. I mentioned it for Tony Pollard. We also have another running back who owns 95% of his backfield, and that is Chase Brown. And he's running back 30 at the Denver Broncos.
Yeah, I mean, they're projected for the fourth fewest points. He's been the worst running back in terms of efficiency, according to my fantasy points model. And then you get the Broncos as a consolation prize this week. So I don't know. Like, it's impossible to work in this environment right now behind this offensive line. And I think he's a fine player and more of a volume eater that could be used out in space when you have the space to work with. And then when you don't, then it gets a little bit wonkier. So yeah, him and Pollard should be touching each other in rankings. I feel like that's like totally fair. But once again, I have kind of noticed we're not getting nearly as many 50-50 backfields. Like most backfields right now, it's like 65-35 or even better than that. So even with Pollard and Chase Brown versus the wide receivers you guys are going to ask us about on the live stream, it's to me still going to be like it's Chase Brown and Tony Pollard for the most part.
Next is Nick Chubb, who is losing snaps as the season goes along to Woody Marks, which is notable. Yeah. And they do get the Tennessee Titans this week. And the Titans, without T'Vondre Sweat, have been a sieve in terms of running games.
Most rushing EPA allowed, and then third most fantasy points to running backs. Yeah, Sweat is on injured reserve as a defensive tackle. That probably should have been a first-round pick if his off-field stuff wasn't a problem. Nick Chubb,
you mean like getting a DUI the day before he visits a team?
Yeah, it's not what I would recommend. Nick Chubb's the RB28 and RB30 usage. I keep saying it. I just think like take that ROI. You got what you asked for as a 13th round pick, and let's move on from the situation. I don't see how this one gets better. And I think that Nick Chubb is actually starting to show a couple more mistakes per game than previously. And I don't see the offense turning around. Did you watch the JT O'Sullivan, CJ Stroud breakdown?
Yes.
He was noting a lot of weird things going on with like the coaching staff decisions and details and all the type of stuff. So didn't like that.
Yeah. I posted this tweet last night that football's funny in that CJ Stroud's rookie season surrounding cast and environment had the lowest expectations heading into that season, but clearly looking back on it, it was easily the best environment for him to succeed in. Yeah. You had Nico Collins, Tank Dell, Larry Tunsil playing at a really high level, an offensive line that could pick up twists and stunts. Yeah. And then everything that Bobby Slowick was doing in terms of condensed splits, crossing routes was wide open chunk gains. And they could protect up front. And then it kind of has disintegrated since then, despite the expectations and like the predetermined outlooks being the exact opposite.
Yeah, I think one play just to quickly explain it. There's like a flat route and then a corner route behind it. And typically teams run that flat route like 3 yards down the field. The Texans ran it like 6-7 yards down the field. And that defender was able to play both. And that was the interception. And like no other team runs it that way. So whether that's miscommunication, wide receivers not in the right spot, or just like all the above in coaching, like that's a detail where it's like, now you just don't even have the ball anymore. And was that CJ Stroud's fault? It probably wasn't. That was just like bad execution, design, you name it.
Bill Croskey-Merritt is here as your running back 32. He ended up playing the most snaps among all running backs last week, but it was almost perfectly sliced up between three running backs because he only had 39.7% of snaps. I still think he looks like the best runner on that team.
Yeah, it's like one of these situations where is it better to be the starter where the Chris Rodriguez was, or is it better to be the guy that played the most snaps in the second half? Like if you're doing the next week's rankings, like do you like the starter more? Or do you like the guy that's playing more snaps? I don't know. He popped up on the injury report as well. And even with all this, like they're 28th in running back usage. Deebo Samuel's going to get involved. Jaden Daniels going to get involved. I think that JCM is the best, but I don't see Jeremy McNichols losing his past game 2-minute drill third down role either. So it's harder for me to get there. I do think that he will have some nice games because of like a 30-yard touchdown though.
Bhayshul Tuten's at running back 33. Anything you want to add here?
He's been the RB31 on RB46 usage, so the efficiency has been there. The usage is not quite up to par to be a starter. I think you can get away with it, but maybe more for like week 5 once we get into the bye weeks.
Kareem Hunt is next, and then Isiah Pacheco actually round out this list at running back 37, so I'll throw him here. That's a disgusting backfield right now.
It is. Something's got to give, though. The Ravens right now, they're missing Madubuike and then Kyle Van Noy, defensive tackle and edge rusher. They've allowed 5.5 yards per carry. Obviously, just got decimated by the Lions, which a lot of teams do. But right now, the Ravens are dead last against the fantasy running backs. Dead last. The Chiefs,
but they haven't played the Chiefs running game yet.
Yeah, they have not played Kareem Hunt, Isiah Pacheco, and Sua Matia. So we'll see. It's like Kareem Hunt's more likely to get the touchdown. Isiah Pacheco is more likely to have the yards.
3 yards.
I mean, he might run back for -8 yards like we've seen before.
Yeah. Okay, Rhamondre Stevenson is next. Again, I think one of these Patriots running backs is going to do something. So it could easily be Rhamondre as well.
For sure. I'll just keep trusting Mike Reese.
Love it. Ollie Gordon closes out the top 37 at running back 36. It is on my radar that like the more information that we get and the opportunities that this team gets inside the 10-yard line, if he does have that work, because I think he is out touching or at least out carrying Devon Achane 3-1 from inside the 10-yard line, and just the profile of him. But this Dolphins team also might rarely get inside the 10-yard line this season.
What you're saying is he's also the biggest boy in the backfield.
Well,
Ollie Gordon.
It's true.
It's true. I will say the drop off from like the Pollard, Chase Brown to the next tier, I think is pretty substantial. Like that to me is like the flex zone cutoff point. And obviously like the rest of the guys in the 20s is not great, but it's no flex zone.
Okay. Can I ask you to bring up the sickos chart? Because I feel like I've been terrible at asking. I get comments about it every single day that I read on YouTube. It's like, why, oh, why does Josh hate us? Where is the sickos chart? He's never asking for it ever again. This is me buying time so Hayden can throw it up on his screen. I'll stop down. There we go. Look at it. Bing, bang, boom. There's some all the way on the right side. The Houston Texans, the Denver Broncos, then the Kansas City Chiefs. And do you believe in the Pittsburgh Steelers over there? Or is that a big fat whiteout ignore?
Yeah. It is Carson Wentz. So, and he's in a different country too. So, yeah, I believe in him. I believe both those defenses could have. I mean, how many times during our live stream do we refresh and then a defensive player's in the backfield? So I like all these players down to the right. Obviously, the Lions are good. The Bills in comeback while they're leading by 16.5 points is good. I would not believe in the Dolphins necessarily, but you do get Jackson Dart, a rookie there.
I like the Patriots.
Yeah, Patriots is definitely a good one too against backups. And then also the Seahawks, I think that they're not getting enough credit here. And if Paris Johnson, who we talked about, he's out, then that would be a big deal. But I think this is like a good week. Some week there's like nothing that like stands out at defense. I do think like this like top 8 group is definitely like there's a clear drop off after them.
All right, that does it. Tomorrow we have a trade show with Faraz. We're going to try to save some of your fantasy teams. All right. Get in your questions in the Discord tonight. This is your last chance to get them in. That link in the description down below. And then we're back on Friday and Saturday with wide receiver, quarterback, and tight end rankings. And then we do it all over again at 11 a.m. Eastern, probably on Sunday morning for the Start Sit show. So we'll see you all then.